We will call to order the Finance Committee meeting for October the 18th, 2021. If you'll stand with me at this time, we'll have the invocation followed by the flag salute. Dear Lord, we come thanking you for the gift of another day. Just thank you for all the blessings that you bestowed upon us within this day. Just ask that you just continue to hold us and keep us in your care. Bless our community. Bless the young people in our community, the seniors in the community. And just ask that you would just look upon your city leaders tonight and just ask that whatever we decide, whatever we do, will be in your will and in your way. These and many other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Finance Committee agenda item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of October 4th, 2021, or take other necessary action.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments September 25th, 2021 through October 8th, 2021, or take other necessary action.
We have a report from the Purchasing Committee.
The purchasing committee did meet this afternoon, and we approved the claims, and so we move for approval.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve our claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Kirkpatrick Architecture Studio Firm to design a new fire station to replace the existing fire station number 9 at 1732 North York Street, or take other necessary action.
Chief Moore.
Mayor, Council. Hello. So a little bit of background about this firm. They've been in business for about 43 years. Architectural services on 25 new fire stations total to this date. 11 of those stations have been constructed in Oklahoma. So the lead architect as well as the project manager both have 17 years of experience. They provide an excellent service. The references to do background of those different fire stations: Tulsa Fire Department, Oklahoma City Fire Department, Denton Fire Department, and Moore, Oklahoma Fire Department. All of those representatives spoke very highly of this firm. I believe they'll do us a good job with moving forward with our fire station as well. I'd like to give special recognition to Mike Stewart, Jeff Reeves, and Avery Rigney for their hard work on this particular project. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Moore?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes, and with that item passing, that is our final item for the Finance Committee.
I welcome you tonight to the Public Works Committee of October 18th, 2021. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of October 4th, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Ordinance 4133A to rezone property located on the south side of Peak Boulevard, west of South 24th Street, being more particularly described in the ordinance from R1 Single Family Residential to I1 Light Industrial, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Tish?
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. This is a request from Mackenzie Parks. He is the owner and applicant of this property. It is a request to go from the R1 Single Family Residential to the I1 Light Industrial. The reason this property is currently the R1 Light Single Family Residential in the area that it is in, it was annexed in, and when we do that, we have it annexed in as a single family resident zoning classification, and they're allowed to continue their use. What they are proposing to do is a new industrial development, which requires it to now be zoned correctly. This is the property. You'll see that it is just located west of South 24th Street on Peak Boulevard on the south side. It's been used since its annexation as the shale mining property, so they were allowed to continue that use until this new development is coming in. Here is the site. To the north is C1 Local Commercial. It's the Bureau of Indian Affairs property. To the south, it was difficult to get a photo, so we did the aerial, and it is vacant land, but it is still currently zoned single-family residential due to the annexation. To the east is C2 General Commercial. To the west is C2 General Commercial. And this is kind of an aerial of the zoning classifications. While some of those are currently zoned in a general commercial, local commercial, the comprehensive and future land use map does show this area to be industrial. And some of those uses are industrial and would need to come under a new zoning classification if there were a change in their use. Again, it goes from the R1 to the I1, and staff and planning commission recommend approval. And Mr. Parks, the owner, is here to answer any questions if you have any.
No one has signed up to speak to this, so we will close the public hearing and have council comments.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 3.
Receive report on Indigenous Peoples' Day activities in the city of Muskogee or take other necessary action.
Councilor Van?
Yes, it's my item I wanted to bring forth tonight. Miss Megan Kelly, she's here representing the Mona Indigenous Peoples' Day, and I went to the Indigenous Peoples' Day. And one thing I didn't mention the last time I was at the meeting, also they honor me at the Indigenous Peoples' Day. What they do is they put this like a blanket in front of you, and I was wondering why they was doing that, and they was beating the drums and bringing this, what's that thing called? The gourd. The gourd. And I was shaking this thing like that, and they was taking money and folding it, putting it at my feet. So they honor me that day, and I just wanted to thank the Indigenous People Day for the Indigenous people for doing that day. So I will turn you in the hands of Miss Sarah Megan Kelly, and she brought her mom along with her tonight, and I'll let her introduce her.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Kelly. I am the Public Relations Coordinator for the Muskogee, Oklahoma Native American Association. I would like to give my report about our recent celebration. On Sunday, October 10th, we hosted our first event at the Roxy Theater, and that was our Indigenous Film Festival. There were 5 films that were included in this. The Native American filmmakers were highlighted that showed exhibits of indigenous foods, native art, and a journey of how a tribe traveled on a canoe journey from the Northwest coast, were just a few of the films that were shown. And we also included Cherokee Word for Water, a film based about how former Principal Chief, the late Wilma Killer, helped the Bell community establish running water lines in Bell, Oklahoma. I had a documentary that premiered called The Creation of Indigenous Peoples Day Celebration in Muskogee. I'm the producer, and I also filmed all of the footage for that. This film showed Native American history, facts about how our people survived attending Native American boarding schools, and also talked about how our tribes were given treaties by the United States government and allotment lands. It also talked about a Native American elder from our community, Mr. Michael Tarable, who took a resolution in front of the City Council in December of 2018 to pass a resolution for us be able to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Holiday here in Muskogee. On Monday, October the 11th, our Indigenous Peoples Day celebration started at 10 a.m. with an Indigenous march that was led by the Cherokee Color Guard and also had participants from Muskogee Public Schools, Hilldale, Tahlequah, Bacone College, Connors State, and Northeastern State representatives. Plus, the United Keetoowah Band of Cherokees also participated in our march. This event featured a keynote speaker by Mr. William Lowe from the Muskogee Creek Nation Okmulgee District Councilman, who presented us with a speech about the McGirt decision and what it means for our community. Our Native American veterans were recognized during the celebration. We also had Cherokee stickball, bow shoot exhibitions, and a MONA member, Lindsay Smith, taught kids from Muskogee Public Schools and other schools how to make Cherokee baskets. We concluded the celebration with a Plains Indian Gourd Dance, where we honored Councilman Ivory Van as a proud MONA member. Our organization is under the fiscal sponsor of Neighbors Building Neighborhoods until our 501c3 is completed. The MONA organization is open to anyone who shares an interest in Native American culture and would like to be a resource for all Native Americans in the community. And we would also like for the city to continue supporting us in our endeavors to commemorate this holiday. Wado, thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing I'd like to say also, there was a gentleman there by the name of Brian Jackson. He was amazing. He's in the Guinness Book World of Records. And he does so many things. I mean, he just talking to him. So I definitely enjoyed him. Did you introduce your mom?
This is my mom, Margaret Kelly. She's the secretary for the MONA organization.
Good to see you here. Well, I'll turn the floor back over to you now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ivory.
Mr. Chairman.
There was no action on that. Item number 4, please.
Receive report on the status of a council policy concerning third-party and city operations of the concession stands at the Love Hatbox Sports Complex, and if appropriate, provide necessary direction to staff.
Mayor Coleman.
Madam Chairman and members of the committee, several months back, we had been asked staff rather to come back with a policy that would allow vendors to operate concession stands. Since then, we've been in several conversations with the city manager's office to clarify that position, to be certain that we were clear that we're talking about the use of the concession area in the arena, so that when large shows rent the facility, that they would have access to use the concession area as part of the fee that they have paid. Since that time, I think Mr. Miller has been working with staff that would like to make a presentation on tonight, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. Committee, we have, the staff has drafted a proposal for that policy. It was set to go before the Parks Board earlier this month, and the Parks Board did not have a quorum. But due to this item being on the agenda tonight, even though it hasn't gone to the Parks Board, Brooke Hall and Mark Wilkerson from the Parks Department are here to outline how that we can implement this, the will of the council in this particular way.
Madam Chairman and members of the committee, as the city manager mentioned, we had planned on presenting this at our park board on Wednesday. Basically, this is an amendment to what we've been doing with regard to the concession stand. We've passing an ad. I'm just going to read to you what she's passing to you. The Hatbox Event Center is operated by the City Muskogee Parks and Recreation Department staff. Evaluation of the feasibility or necessity of food service operation is determined between the host and the city for each individual event. Host food operations may include use of the indoor concession space. This would be $100 per day for the use of the concession. The indoor space is designed for a sale of prepackaged foods only. Space and equipment is not approved for the preparation and the sale of hot foods. There's other options that, for food trucks, $25 per food truck, $50 per day if we provide the electricity. location, and the food trucks must be approved. Third-party food vendors may be contracted with the event host. Food trucks, trailers are allowed to operate within the Hatbox Event Center as requested and approved. Vendors must comply with Oklahoma State Health Department and food handlers permits. So basically, we've are going to offer the opportunity for somebody that's renting the facility to do their own concession sales. They still have to meet health department. We all do. The city does, and the renters would have to do the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. I would suggest to the committee that as we approach the timeline for the staff to make their presentation to the actual Parks Board, that on the indoor concession item, we consider that if the vendor has already paid for the arena, that there be no daily use fee on that concession area, and that also we consider if they wanted to sell something other than non-packaged foods, if they had health department approval, that we consider those options as well.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that increase our insurance, our liability? For the city, would that increase our liability to have?
To allow them to
Right.
sell concessions, I would not think so.
Okay.
I guess I got a question. So if they're selling concession, does that mean that the city's not in this instance?
That's correct.
Mr. Wilkerson, on this prepackaged foods, is the kitchen equipped for someone to do anything other than the prepackaged?
That's
Is that
that's correct.
that's the reason
Unless
that
you
was
had
put in there?
like crock pots or something, you could just plug into outlets, right? Or,
My understanding is the health department has to be approved by the health department.
Yeah.
Per individual case.
But,
So if we-
but to your point, there's not a stove, there's not a range top, there's not a microwave, it's made to do prepackaged food. That was the design of and we don't, as the city, when we staff it, we don't have the heated meals.
Yeah, the only thing I want to have considered is if we had an event that has a booster club that wanted to sell hot dogs, that they could take advantage of, to Councilor Stout's point, crock pot or something that, if they were raising extra funds for their kids group or what have you, that's considered as an option.
And I believe that could be as long as the health department approves. Because for us, we don't want to run afoul.
Right.
we want the health department to be to sign off on anything that happens
Right.
there.
Yeah, as long as it's yay or nay on the health department side, I'm fine. Of course, if they say no, it's what it is.
Yeah.
But
And that falls to whoever the
Right.
people that rent the building to get that permission ahead of time.
right, and that would be on a case by case basis. That's something that they'd have to request well in advance, so that staff can plan for it, so that they can get the necessary permits in. I just like that to be considered as part of the process.
I had another question. What's the loss to the city if we start doing this? Is it minimum?
Well, first of all, I don't think everybody's going to want to do the concessions. We don't really know yet because we haven't done enough events to track how much we make off concession sales at this point. I think as we grow, it's going to be obvious. I think that was kind of the reason why we established it, that we would only be the ones only to do the sales, is that we keep that income in-house that stays there with that budget and that fund to grow the fund there at Hatbox.
Thank you.
But I can't answer your question yet, how much we won't make. And each individual event's obviously way different. You know, the regional livestock show is thousands of people, and some of the other events are just hundreds of people, so.
And to Mr. Wilkerson's point, maybe to the point I made earlier, we're only talking about the concession stand inside the arena, not all of the other concession stands that would continue to be operated by the city. And so I'm not certain if we need a motion. I just want to be certain that as they go to the Parks Board with their recommendation, because it'll come back to us after it, I'm assuming, is that the process?
I really wanted the fee waived if they're renting the,
So generally, it would be just adopted at the park board level, but we can take it with this direction and we'll publicize it after what the park board approves. And if there needs to be further action by the council can do that at that time.
I think that's what I would like, if that's the pleasure of the committee.
Yeah.
Mayor, let me go back to your point. You talked about the indoor concession being $100. Then the food trucks are gonna turn back around and pay the city $20 to $50? Or should that be included as well? You know, for the organization that's sponsoring and have rented the place, are we gonna charge the outside food trucks and the city gonna be the one that's gonna?
Well, the outside food trucks, and Mr. Wilkerson, you correct me if I'm wrong, that's just a user fee, basically, for them to be on the premises.
Or the third-party group, yes, the third-party group would arrange for those food trucks that's hosting the event. They would pay the city that $25, but they'd be permitted to sell food, hot food, from their food truck trailer.
And that would be a contractual arrangement on the back end between the vendor and the third party,
Yes, that's correct.
not the city.
I just kinda, feel some type of way about the city waiving the fee for the indoor if you rent the place, and then we gonna come back and charge them for, for the people that are on the outside.
Well, I kind of felt like that this was about the not-for-profit type group that's renting the building. But a food truck would not be a not-for-profit. It would be a for-profit operation, and we would like to definitely keep fees associated with operating out at the
Yeah, and I don't have a
any of our
problem with
facilities.
I don't have a problem with the fee being on that. My problem from a budgetary standpoint is, when we budget for facilities and budget for operations, we should think longer term in terms of budgeting that we don't have a loss when someone needs to use the facility. Not we're making pennies on the dollar because somebody else is selling a hot dog. Did I say that clear enough? I mean, we don't want to be in a situation as a city where we have all this great facility for someone to use, and we say, oh my God, we're losing $25 because somebody else is selling hot dogs. We should budget for our operation so that we're never at a loss, so that as the venue grows, the opportunity for usage grows.
Derek, are you talking about 501c3 programs?
I'm just, okay, so somebody rents the building, I'm okay with whatever we decide, but I'm just saying somebody rents the building, we're gonna allow them to be able to sell and keep the profits for the concessions on the inside, but if you sell concessions on the outside, then they have to pay the city.
because they're using too, it's gonna be, yeah.
But my
I'm good.
understanding is that it's gonna be a not like nonprofits that's gonna do, which what you're talking about, Marta.
I'm talking about those smaller entities that depend on sale from their booster clubs to help support their ongoing activities. But even if we charge or don't charge food trucks, I mean, I almost think that's immaterial. I mean, $25 or $50. If you did 100 food trucks over the year, I don't think the city should be in a situation where we feel like, oh my God, we're losing all this money, when we should budget for those operations so that as part of the package we offer to individuals who use the facility, we're never at a loss. And that way it's a win-win for everybody.
I'm good.
So we anticipate this will be on the November Parks Committee, Parks Board, and then if there's something adopted, then we'll circulate that to council, and if there's further action needed, then the council can draw that to our attention.
Everyone fine
Madam
with that?
Chair, thank you.
Okay, item number 5.
Consider approval of resolution number 2874 designating EST Incorporated as the City of Muskogee Bridge Inspectors for the period of April 1, 2022 to March 31, 2024, or take other necessary action.
Madam Chairman and committee, what you have before you is a program that we do every 2 years, and we participate with ODOT to do bridge inspections. Just for your information, there are 21 bridges in Muskogee that are inspected, and most of these are low water crossings, not actual bridges. The Columbus Street Overpass and the Court Street Viaduct are the two big bridges that we have under our purview. Most of the rest of this is low water crossings like you'll find on Gulick Street and Hancock Street. So there is an error in my background in your packet. I put where we were going to make the number 4 our selection, and that's not correct. It is number 1, select one of ODOT's pre-qualified engineering firms. So we were given a list of pre-qualified firms to go from 6, and Jeff Reeves and David Garner and myself interviewed them. After interviews, we did decide EST would be the most appropriate. They're a Tulsa-based firm. They can be here rather quickly if needed, and as you know, the way the rural casket building fell and we needed to have that viaduct inspected, we do need that prompt response. But the three of us, all three agreed that EST was the organization to choose, the engineering company to choose. We recommend approvals, and I'll answer your questions if you have them.
Discussion from the council.
Madam Chair, I have a question. And Mr. Stewart, you may have provided this to us once before in terms of the current ratings on the bridges that we have here in town. You don't have to ramble it off tonight, but at some point, we probably need a copy of where we stand in terms of how our bridges are currently rated.
So I'll get with the city manager and put something together and get you a report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
More discussion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 6.
Consider approval of final payment to Utility Technology Services for the Automated Meter System Project 2019015 in the amount of $241,836, or take other necessary action.
Yes, Jeff Reeves is actually going to handle these next 3 items that are final payments, and he's got some PowerPoints to show you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Council. Utility Technology Services installed 8,000 3/4-inch residential services to the city of Muskogee. They installed 500 1-inch, and they raised 1,000 services to grade level. The project was inspected by Cowan Engineering and as well as the city. And we do recommend approval for the funds, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, council?
Chair, Mr. Reeves and Mr. Stewart, I don't know who will know the answer to this, but walk us a little bit through the condition of what the meters were in prior to this project.
The residential meters were not in bad shape overall, but this is an automated meter system, so it would report back to the city. It'd be a whole lot more efficient than the current one where we have meter readers have to go around to each system. So I think it has its advantages and definitely a better system and up-to-date system.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, in addition, I agree with what Mr. Reeves has said. These were, our meters were getting towards the end of their expected life, and so this is really kind of phase 1 of a multi-phase project to replace all of the residential meters. And this is a huge first step, getting more than half of them. We do need to address the other half, and they are aging in the ground, and we'll need to replace them in a relatively short period of time moving forward. But this is a great first step, and I'm proud of where we are, and definitely need to thank the Revenue Department as well, and Tammy Tracy, who leads that group. They were a lot of the boots on the ground to make sure that these meters got installed in the right way, and they've gone back and reprogrammed meters recently that they as part of this project, they identified some that weren't reading properly. They had to reprogram several hundred, I believe, meters. Public Works, Revenue, a whole lot of people worked on this, and it's really a very good project, and we're excited to be at this stage.
And I think that was kind of where I was going with that although what we had may have been okay in terms of technology in the 21st century, it was probably junk compared to the automation that we're replacing them with now. Is that a fair?
That is fair, sir.
So And I want to go on to also say that when we reach a time of final payments on something, that is very suggestive that we did something, that something actually was accomplished. We've always had common concerns about the water meters, and when they break, when they're faulty, whose fault is it when there's a leak? Along those lines, will these new meters help us address that in any way? You may not know tonight. I'm just curious. In terms of the conflict we always have with when a meter leaks, is it on the residential side or is it on the city side? Will these meters go a long way to helping resolve that?
Yes, they will. As a matter of fact, basically your meter, as long as you have a leak on the residential side of the system rather than the tap side or the mainline side, it will register the water flow. Okay, so basically it tells you when you have exorbitant water charges from the city, you have a water leak at your residence. It will not register on the city side of the line. So, yes, it will.
And I, since you brought that up, how far in advance will it be set up to alert the resident? Because I think one of the things we want to try to avoid with some of the systems Ms. Tracy may already have that sent out an alert is to be certain that the resident doesn't get this big bill before they find out their side of the meter was leaking.
Yeah, Mayor, that is a separate program. I don't know if Ms. Tracy wants to address that.
The meters will not alert them of a leak. We have a program that you can go on our website. It's called AquaHawk, and it is up to the resident they will receive that alert to let them know that there is high activity on their water account. So if they need help getting signed up for that, they can call our department or they can go onto our website and they just need their account number. They can set up their account and then that will send them text messages, emails, or phone calls. But the meters will not alert them. They have to have that program and it's a free service that we offer, so.
And it is a good program. It alerts me on laundry day that I used a lot of water. So it's pretty sensitive and you can set the timing. So I do recommend every citizen sign up for AquaHawk.
And probably, Ms. Tracy, along these same lines, that we would want for the next Public Works Committee, if it wouldn't be too much, to have a presentation made during Public Works on how AquaHawk works. Because I think that a large majority of our citizens don't use it. But if they did, they would have far enough in advance to know that they're going to have a problem if they don't have it addressed sooner than later. And taking advantage of this technology. So that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Any more questions?
Madam Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes.
That AquaHawk program is a very good program. I mean, I've recommended it to citizens all the time. And like I said, like you said, a lot of citizens don't even know we have it, but we do have it, and it does alert you. Now, these meters that we put in, do we put them all over town, or how'd that go about? For the meters that we put in.
We identified the areas that we were having the most trouble with meters. We replaced those first. We tried to isolate it to our billing cycles, but to keep the team working, we had to replace them throughout the city. So there are some throughout the entire city. There is not one full cycle that has been changed out.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll turn the floor back over to Ms. Sherman.
And Madam Chair, I want us to celebrate the staff on this accomplishment, because I think for a city our size to take this type of initiative to get this many meters done is something to be celebrated. That's an accomplishment that we were able to get that done, so thank you.
So I just want to make sure the automation, meaning that we don't have a water guy to go back and check it anymore. They just read and send back to in-house. Is that pretty much how the system works? It reads the meter for you guys?
I believe that was part of the
Is that right?
intent.
Yes, it sends a radio read to our towers. Our towers download to our billing program. Now, if we're not getting a read, if a car's parked on the meter or maybe it's underwater, we will send a technician out to check it. If a customer calls and thinks maybe they have a leak, we'll go out and check that as well. We don't check every meter as long as it's sending us a reading, but if there are issues, we do go out and manually read the meter and check the meter.
So on the reading, have we found that to be kind of accurate? We hadn't been off or?
Yes, it is correct. The ones that we have had issues with, it was a programming issue, and we have rectified that problem.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
So,
Miller.
Mr. Chair, one thing I'd like to address to that too, Muskogee probably deserves credit for being pretty far ahead of the curve technology-wise, because these are our second-generation automated readers. A lot of cities are putting in their automated meters for the first time. So for us, the automated reading system has been in place for 15-plus years. So the meter techs that we have now are used to this system. So we've got good new technology that we're replacing automated meters. Some towns are just now putting in their first ones. So we've already gone through a whole life cycle of the automated meters because we were ahead of the game on our meter technology.
I might also mention we put in what they call two-way communication. We have about 500 of those that are remote. We can remotely turn them off and on from the office. We don't have to physically go out and do that, and so we put those in trouble areas as well. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 7.
Consider approval of final payment to L&L Construction for the wastewater treatment plant clarifier repairs project number 201-9022 in the amount of $46,488.66, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reeves.
Yes, ma'am. The L&L Construction at the wastewater plant rewired the clarifier secondary number 2. Okay, there's actually 4 clarifiers. There's primaries 1 and 2 and secondaries 1 and 2. This one was rewired for motors, starters, drives, switches, floats, and receptacles. So this was an extremely large project, and the clarifier is up and running at this time. It has been inspected by the city. Steve Toller from Hub has also approved the installation, and we do recommend approval for the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions if necessary.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think, Mr. Reeves, for the benefit of the public that's watching, what is a clarifier?
A clarifier is a part of the process of the wastewater system that when the wastewater goes through the system, it is cleaned. Basically, that's one of the many elements for cleaning the wastewater when it goes through the system.
And again, to staff, certainly we are happy to be at that point because somewhere along the line, council saw the wisdom to be certain that we advanced these types of projects. And so to Mr. Miller and staff, I think this is another thing that we can be proud of in our city, that we are doing the best we can for our residents with what we have. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Move for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion passes. Item number 8.
Consider approval of final payment to APAC Central Incorporated in the amount of $54,343.84 for Southeast Zone Mill and Overlay Project number 2020007, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reeves.
Yes, ma'am. There were actually 13 streets that were milled and overlaid in this project in the southeast zone, and 22 that were patched or leveled up. APAC did a good job on the project. We had a little bit of a hard time getting them to finish out the project, get their stuff cleaned up, so the payment was delayed a little bit, but I like to have the projects complete before we actually issue payments on them. So it was a successful project, along with the microsurfacing in that zone, and I do recommend approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval?
Have a motion. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 9.
Consider approval to purchase Model 545 trailer mounted high-pressure sewer cleaner from statewide contract SWO 193 in the amount of $69,296.91, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, this is a budgeted item, Madam Chairman and committee. We did budget for it. This is a piece of machinery that is needed in the Pollution Control Department, and one of the supervisors from that department is here to explain what a sewer-mounted trailer is for you, and he's got a very short PowerPoint to show you. Scott Fletcher is going to do that for us.
How are you guys?
Good.
These are the specs that we used off the state contract for this trailer-mounted unit. Oh, can you not hear me? I'm sorry. This slide here is the dimensions and the water capacity of the unit. And then here's a couple photos of the back of the unit and the front side where the water pump and the engine are. And then here's a side view. And this is used to clean and unstop city sewer lines and will be a backup unit to our combo vac truck that we currently have. The unit that we currently have is over 10 years old, and the parts are pretty much obsolete. So there's what was budgeted, and we come in under budget, and staff would recommend the purchase of this item.
And it is on state contract.
Yes, it is on state contract.
Awesome. Good. Move for approval.
So how do you use this? How do you use it? Just tell me how you use it. I'm listening.
It's a sewer jetter.
Okay.
We unstop sewer lines with it,
Okay.
storm lines, stuff like that. It's this is a hose right here on the end.
Okay.
Has a nozzle on it. We can use water pressure to run it up. It's got 2,000 PSI, about 40 gallons per minute out of the pump. So it puts out a lot of water, cleans out
It cleans out good. Okay.
anything,
Kind of uses
anything
a
that we
reverse
need.
thrust to make it go through
Yeah.
the sewer blockage.
Okay.
So it goes through it and flushes it at the same time.
Okay. Learn something new every
Any
day.
other questions?
Yes, does it
Thank
work
you.
as good as the other the old machine?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Does this work as good as the old machine? we have?
Yes.
I've seen how that worked from the front.
Yeah, from the front, the truck. Yeah,
You got different type nozzles, right?
different nozzles, different degrees. Yes.
And I think what would be, for the benefit of those watching as well is, tell us the disadvantage we would be at if we didn't purchase this.
We would be hiring contractors to come in and unstop sewer lines and clean.
So now we have the capacity to be
We
able
have
to
the
do it.
capacity to do that
Stay
on our
ahead of the
own.
game. This is
Yes.
good. Good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So you need one machine or two machines?
We currently have a combination truck.
Okay.
It's got suction on it. We can suck out manholes and stuff like that, get debris out of manholes, storm drains, this and that.
Thank you, sir.
This one is mounted on a trailer.
Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Okay, we have a
might-
motion? Yes.
Yep.
You might want to mention, I'm sorry, now be recognized, Ms. Sherman.
Yes.
I want to mention that this is for main sewers
Main sewers,
and
yes.
storm drains, not people's sewer
Not,
lines
not
at the
house
house.
lines, no.
Okay. Yeah, we want to definitely mention that.
That motion?
Yes.
Second.
Second? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 10.
Receive report on the City of Muskogee's Adopt a Street program and take any necessary action.
We're kind of teaming up on you out of Public Works today. So Karen Coker, who is over our stormwater program, is going to go through the Adopt a Street changes that she's put forth before you. And she's basically, there is an Adopt a Street program, and she's basically just updating it so that we have something that's more current and viable. So Karen will come up and do a short PowerPoint for you as well.
Good evening, Chairman and committee members. Well, he explained why I'm here to update on Adopt a Street, and go ahead and start this. Let me give you a little bit of background. In June of 2013, the Action in Muskogee revealed the results of a community-wide survey. when asked what changes could improve the quality of life in Muskogee, the number one response was clean up the city. This was the beginning of the yearly Azalea cleanup. Adopt a Street would be done by groups of people at the location of their choice throughout the years, would be an ongoing thing. So let's take a look here. The 2016 Adopt a Street is, there we go. The city is temporarily suspend the agreement due to construction. Once the construction is complete, the agreement can be restored. On the 2021, there is no provision for construction. Also, on the 2016 Adopt a Street, the streets should be at least 1 mile of adjacent, connected, or adjoining streets for 2 years. Litter should be picked up at least 4 times per year, with one being during the Azalea cleanup. For the 2021, 1 to 2 miles of roadway will be picked up 4 times per year, with one date during the Azalea cleanup, and the agreement is only for 1 year. It's just easier to keep track of 1 year. And the next slide is 2016 Adopt a Street. All participants must sign a 2-page release and waiver liability form. And the 2021 Adopt a Street, by signing the forms, the liaison agrees to conform to the terms and conditions of the contract. And the city of Muskogee right now has only 3 active groups. And I have people lined up waiting for this to be voted on and go through city council. I have several people or groups ready to go. So anyway, I think that's about it. Do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, one of the things that I want to compliment the staff on is that this goes parallel to the importance of item number 8. In terms of the final payment that we made to APAC, because one of the things that we want to have in our city is the capacity to have clean and beautiful streets after the streets are made complete.
Yes.
And so I think that this is a step in the right direction to making certain that happens. Now, Karen, you said that you have groups waiting on this to be adopted, so I'm assuming, Mr. Tucker, that we're not just receiving a report, we're approving the recommended changes as well?
I believe that is, let me pull up the agenda item right quick just to make sure that we are, yes, we would like a motion to approve the program.
So my motion would be to approve the program as amended.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
You know, this is a good program, but what I find in Muskogee on the streets, especially in the summertime, we cutting grass. You see people cut grass all the time and throw it out in the street.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff goes in our storm drains, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, do people go around and give people, I know you used to do it, Karen, I don't know if you
I
still do it.
still do it. It's just that I can't stay on top of it. It happens all the time, and I'll get phone calls. I'll get write-ups on the GovQA, and I go out that day and check it out. I just got one today, so I try to do the best I can. And a lot of the properties are vacant, so I have to. It takes time to search down the owners of the property because they hire. You think you have a lawnmower, so you can go out and mow everyone's lawn. Well, you need to know the rules and regulations of the city to begin with. So I try to be optimistic, but it is quite a job.
So I see it so many times, going down the road and around Muskogee, especially in the storm drains. Would you say you needed some help to help you with this issue?
Well, it's worse in the summertime. It's just really bad in the summertime. And in the fall, in fact, I did 3 violation letters today. And you just try to stay on top of it as best you can.
So you don't think you need any help?
No.
Okay. I was just curious because, like I said, I drive around all the time and I see this mess and people just don't care.
Yes, sir.
I'll turn the floor back over to you, Ms. Sherman.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion passes. Item 11, please.
Receive report, discuss, and take action to authorize the expenditure of up to $750,000 to reduce the presence of disinfection byproducts in the city's water supply.
Mayor Coleman.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the city manager and I have been in several conversations about this item. As many of us are aware, periodically, because of ODEQ requirements, residents receive a letter basically stating that there are pollutants in the water that need to be addressed. The city has been on a plan for quite some time now to address that issue. Mr. Miller is going to talk about how that plan has been going into effect. But what I wanted the committee to consider tonight is to be certain that the manager and the staff had all of the tools, financial resources that they need to help this project along as quickly as possible. And so that was why I brought this to your attention on tonight. Before I make the motion to authorize that expenditure, I want Mr. Miller to give us an update of where we are today, how we got to where we are. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is an issue that's been before the city for a while, and the council's already done a great job to address it. So the reason I say that is the ODEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, that asks us to send out those letters and tells us the exact wording that we need to use in those letters. They've also said, they've also approved our plan to fix the problem. We've submitted projects to them. The council has funded those projects. Some of them you've seen accomplished in the last year. The 30-inch water line that's been built across town is built to improve the water quality. Aeration project at the Radio Hill Water Tower that council has approved us to spend money on. There's more than $18 million worth of water improvements that the council has authorized and that are some are done, some are underway right now to address this very issue. And so this is a problem that probably took, our system is 100 years old. One of the lines that we're going to take out of service was built in 1911. So this is a problem that may have built up over literally a century, and it's taken us a few years to get it to where we want it to be. I'm going to explain it to you in the way I understand, and then Mr. Stewart's going to use some science words, some smart guy words that understand really how the water system works. But the real short version is the DEQ has told us what the problem is, and they've okayed our solution, and the council has funded that. And we're in process now. So I am excited that we're making progress in doing the things that have been outlined, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Stewart and Mr. Lumpkins to give us the real science behind all this.
So we're going to have a couple of handouts for you real quick. And I'll get to the handouts in my presentation or report. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the water issue that we have. I'm going to discuss the aged water issue. Disinfectant byproducts is what's it's referred to, but basically it's aged water. It requires us to send out the violation notices when we bust on the THM HAA 5 issue, and those are disinfecting byproduct issues. And if we want to get real technical, that's why I brought Keith Lumpkins with us, because he is the water plant superintendent and he stays on top of that. What I did want to tell you, though, is about 5 to 10 years ago, reporting to DEQ actually changed. We have 4 individual sites that we have to test monthly. And prior to 5 to 10 years ago, we could actually do a cumulative report. So we'd test the 4 sites and average the totals and submit that as our report. and never had an issue. They, 5-10 years ago, and I can't remember just exactly when, had us actually do the reports now individually at the sites. So we do test 4 sites, and they're at 54th and Border, 3420 West Peak, which is Creek Nation, 60 East Peak Boulevard, which is in front of Advanced Work Zone, and Eastside Boulevard and Broadway. And we do this again monthly, and these are sent to ODEQ. And by the way, these sites were not picked by us, they were picked by ODEQ, so I just want to make sure you knew that. After the test changed, and we started really researching it because we were having an issue with the THM HAA5, we determined that it was the southwest quadrant of Muskogee that's having the issues. So if you'll go to this map that I handed out, and if you'll look on the left-hand side toward the top, it shows you where Radio Hill is, and that's the actual water tower that we're speaking of. And if you'll go back down to the legend down here, you're going to see 8 to 13 days is an orange color. So this is telling us how old that water has been in this system, and this is after we hired Cowan, and they did that water model for us, so that we actually had this test results ran, and you can see the greens are all good. So I'll get to that in a minute. But the test site that we continually fail at is on the intersection of 54th and Border. So again, if you go back to your map and look at that left-hand corner, I highlighted 54th and Hancock in blue ink, and Border is just a hair up. And if you'll see, that's orange dots all the way up to that testing site. So now if you'll come back to this map, this is a map that we had put together for us prior to some of the work that we had done. And if you'll look at the legend, I circled in blue, the pink color, and that's the 24-inch water lines, and those are the ones that the manager was talking about that are 110 years old that are giving us the problems. But if you'll look, this one line goes through the center of town, and it actually goes down 24th Street, and that's feeding up water to the Honor Heights Tower. So I'm gonna shift gears on you. Right above that, there's a yellow line. It says a 10-inch in the legend, but that's actually where our new 30-inch water line went. So we moved that line up to the north, and what we're doing is we're going to remove that 24 that goes through the center of town. What that's going to do is that's going to force that water from Radio Hill Tower, up into the town now, and into where it's already good water, but it'll be pushing that water out of Radio Hill up there. So that was the proposed solution from Cowan. That's why we built the 30-inch water line. And that's why we're now doing the project called the Interconnects. And what we're doing is we're taking all these services off of that 24 and finding them another route for their water before we take the 24s out of service. And then when the 24 comes out of service, that should bring more water from Radio Hill up into town. I'll stop right there and make sure you understood what I said. So using the maps, you can see where that 24 goes through the center of town. That's proposed to come out. And that 30-inch is right there where the the Centennial Trail is. And so that forces that water from Radio Hill, which is south, up into town. And that's the purpose of it. And that's one of the things that we decided to do to correct this issue.
Does that mean that water won't lay in the towers long? Is that what you mean by pushing it in?
Yes. So we will not have the 8 to 15-day water in the lines. It will actually reduce it down to something much less, which will reduce the HAA, THM problem. Some of the things that we also have done, that's the 30-inch water line. We also added aeration to the Radio Hill Tower, and that's something that was passed in that OWRB loan on the drinking water side, the $18 million the manager was talking about. We did put aeration in the tank at Radio Hill. So it's oversimplistic, but I kind of describe it like a fish tank. You turn the filter off and it'll get all cruddy. You turn it back on and it clears itself up. So it's not quite like that, but that's what aeration does. It keeps that water fresh and keeps it moving. Also in that tower, prior to the actual changing of the reporting requirements, we went in there and we put curtains in the tank. So the tank's round, and we put 3 curtains at different places in it to make the water actually have to flow in the tank. So we've got 2 methods in the Radio Hill tank to help correct the water. And I don't know if you remember, but for years we had a nasty odor and a terrible taste in our water. We've also put a mixing apparatus in the one at Honor Heights. And that odor and that taste really hasn't been here in quite some time. And you usually will experience it in midsummer when it's really, really hot. You can almost smell the water not having a good odor to it. But I think we've actually made a lot of progress and conquered that. One of the things that we are looking to do and that we're in process of doing, as the manager had stated, we're moving the chlorine dioxide treatment from the dam to the water treatment plant. And that's the first step in coagulation. You know, I've had heart issues, so I always relate everything to the human body. But that coagulation process starts having those particles actually gather together so we could remove them easier.
That's right.
Make sure I say that right. I look to the expert. So we are moving that to the water treatment plant, and that's going to have a big effect on it as well. And then also we are in process, like we stated, of removing those 24-inch water lines. Now there's quite a few other things that Cowan suggested that we can do to help continue to improve our water quality. And those are in that water model study, and they're under the capital improvement section. So capital improvement program that they set forth for us, they actually identified things that we can do, and finishing the meter project was one of them, continually working on our water lines that are failing around town, and then trying to do away with our dead end lines, which also helps create this problem. So we'd put some type of a connecting line in there to keep them from being dead end. So last thing I wanted to tell you, just a little more information. We have 407 miles of water line in this community, 2-inch to 48-inch. We have two towers. One is a $6 million, and the other, Keith and I go back and forth on whether it's an 8 or 10. I'm going to believe him. And then we also have about 10 million gallon of storage in our actual distribution lines right now. So there's average between 20 and 24 million gallons of storage in our lines at all time, which keeps us a couple of days of water for the community. So we've got really good storage. The bad part about having really good storage is you sometimes get aged water, which creates this THEM-HAA problem. Last, I had Keith assist me, and he pulled the state of Oklahoma's public water supply program, and it's an executive summary of the 2020 annual compliance report. This is on the webpage, and we can put it in our report so everybody knows where it's at. But I just wanted to read you one line in here as soon as I catch my breath.
Take your time.
159 systems had 981 violations of the disinfectant byproduct rule. So we're not the only community that's fighting this problem. And it has to do when they changed the reporting process and started having you do these individual sites. So the farther you push this water, you've got to make sure it's flushed, it's used, and I'm continually working with Keith and the manager on ways to improve it. Definitely glad you put this on the agenda. We need to continue to focus on our infrastructure, and I love that. And that's been my whole life, pretty much. So I appreciate the effort that the council puts into public works and infrastructure. Keith and I are here to answer any questions you might have. If they're technical, he's going to get them.
Thank you guys for all your hard work.
Madam Chair, I just have a few things. Mr. Stewart, on the 24-inch line that needs to be modified or what have you, what's the timeline on that?
So that we're actually going to remove it, take it out of service. It's that 110 years old, and it breaks and leaks all the time. It's coming out. What we have to do is finish these interconnects, and because we're, as Mike Miller suggested, or didn't suggest but said, we're over 100 years old. So we've got to make sure that we get all the lines off of the 24 and don't leave anybody without water. That project is moving along. It's well underway. But as soon as it's completed, we'll have final report up here for you, and then we'll take it out of service. I wish I could tell you exactly, but it'll be in the next year.
That's what I was getting at. Are we talking about 6 months, a year?
Mayor, I think it'll happen quicker, but there's some unknowns in this project that because there's lines out there that we sometimes don't know about. So we just have to make sure that we get every one of them before we shut those lines down.
In terms of our old WRB loan associated with this project, is the loan designed to, is it designed for us to make repairs over an extended period of time or a shorter period of time?
So it has flexibility in it, and it can extend out. I'll let Mike answer the more difficult questions, but we actually plan to leave money in it for the tail end. And, if nothing else, we were going to just fix all the bad water lines that we could find. We have a report on that as well. But we want to continue to fix the meters, and we want to continue with this disinfectant byproduct issue, making sure that we've done everything we can to defeat that. And then if there's anything left, we'll put it on water lines. But the loan can carry out for quite some time.
Right, and so I think to your point, we're spending it as quickly as possible on the identified projects as they come in under budget. For instance, the water line the 30-inch water line came in under budget because we used our existing right-of-way. We built it on the trail, so we didn't have to purchase right-of-way or easements for that. Came in under budget, so that lets us add projects and keep it going. So we're doing all the previously identified and approved projects as quickly as we can. That's why, as Mr. Stewart said, you guys have already approved the interconnect project that will allow us to take that 24 out of service. And as there's money left, we're adding additional projects with the money in there. We're trying to spend it as quickly as we can. And when projects have come in under budget a couple of times, it allows us to add more projects as we go.
And that was sort of where I was going with that question also, Mr. Miller, to be certain that the resources that were allocated match the desired timeline that we have, which is the sooner the better, of course. So, when will ODEQ review us again?
So ODEQ comes to just about every progress meeting that we have on these projects.
Okay.
So they're constantly in the flow.
And the reason I ask that is because I want to be certain that we're doing what we can to stay ahead of their review. So in other words, by the time they come for the next review, we're less likely to get that notice again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we try our best to stay ahead of ODEQ and make sure everything is, all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, and we rely on our engineers to assist us with that. So that's part of Cowan's engineering group that's doing our water projects. That's part of their process, is to help us stay on top of that.
And to your point, Mayor, the goal is to not have those letters coming from DEQ as quickly as possible, and that's really just dependent on how fast we can get the projects there. DEQ says that if we do the projects that we already have in place and they go as designed, that should eliminate the need for future letters. And so that's why we're also trying to get those projects done as quickly as possible. But until we do, we may see another letter.
Yeah, and to that point, I might let Keith actually address this. That is on a sliding scale. So even if we had our problem solved today, we're on a 12-month sliding scale. So it's got to stay clean for a while before we quit putting those letters out.
And just before Keith speaks to us tonight, I guess, Mr. Miller, if we're allowed through the OWRB process to reallocate based on coming under budget as long as it's a similar type project, then do we need this additional authorization on tonight? My goal was to be certain that you have all the tools you need and all the resources available in case we need to speed it along. We can. Is that necessary now, or should we revisit that in 90 days based on what you're telling us tonight with the way the OWRB loan is structured?
Right. So two things. Number one, OWRB says if we do what they've already approved, that we already have funded, that it should eliminate the problem. It is a matter of time. However, there are always more infrastructure needs. And so I do think as we, in the coming weeks, look at our American Rescue Plan funding, which is most easily used for this kind of thing, water and sewer, I think we can identify projects in this amount or a different amount, maybe more, maybe less, based off the council priorities, that can help address not just the immediate needs, but now we can start looking to future needs as well.
So what I will do, Madam Chair, with permission of the committee, is hold off on my recommendation on its allocation until we've had that further discussion with council about the ARPA funding, so that we can be certain that we budget accordingly. Because if the OWRB funding will take care of this, then that $750,000 could be used for some other infrastructure project.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Tucker, just no action on this, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
I would ask Madam Chair, and Mr. Stewart, if you're okay with this, Mr. Miller, we can get another update in whatever's the logical amount of time. So it's been about 6 months or longer since we've had this type of update on this type of discussion. I'm assuming that the committee would prefer something like 90 days to come back and see where we are with this process so that we can stay ahead of it. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Do we need a motion to that effect, or is that?
We don't need a motion to that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I would like for y'all to come out this week. I'll give you the address after the meeting. And I still have a problem with the smell in the water. It's got a real bad smell. And I'm just curious, the main water line, the fire hydrants come off them, correct? I'm just curious on the main, on the fire hydrants, how often do we go out and drain those lines to make sure, you know, in case, you know, a fire's at a house, you know, to make sure the fire hydrant is working properly? How often do we go out and do that? I see it very seldom.
The water distribution department is the ones that mainly do the flushing for the hydrants.
Mm-hmm.
We will go out and do flushing at the water plant when we get calls about taste or odor. But other than that, the water distribution guys are the ones that go out and flush the hydrants.
But how often do they flush the hydrants?
So they flush them just as often as they can. It depends on the amount of leaks that we're working on at that time. And then one of the things I want to add, our 4 testing sites all have automated flushing systems at them. So if you go by 54th and Border, sometimes you will see the water just running down the ditch. That's actually an automated flushing system that's in place. You will not see it over on Eastside Boulevard and Broadway because we have that flushing system hooked into the storm sewer. So it actually goes into the storm drain. You'll never see the water running, but it does kick on and flush. And we can continually add these systems as we need. So if we've got a problem area, we're going to keep looking into this. As a matter of fact, Keith and I were addressing that today.
Okay. Thank you. Turn the floor back over to Ms. Sherman.
Okay. So no action on that. Okay, Mr. Van, you have 3 minutes. You signed up to speak.
Yes, I was going to see if I could extend my time to 2 more minutes.
Move to approve Ivory to speak, have 5 minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you probably see these trophies here, and the reason behind these trophies is because of Ms. Hibbs and her wish, Women in Safe Homes. And I tell you, that's a very, very good program because I myself personally have never experienced domestic violence of any kind. And I think Ms. Hibbs, you and your committee, your staff, Mr. Tucker, ever who belongs to which, I don't want to leave nobody out, that y'all do a very, very great job. I'm glad we have that, and you do this every year. And y'all have this walk, it's called Walk in Her Shoes. So this trophy here, I won in 2019. This trophy here, I won in 2021, walking in those heels. And I had 2 good participants who were helping me walk also. That's the mayor and that's the city manager. I always see them out there with us. So I'd encourage more men, Dr. Hous, come and get on board with us, you know. But I enjoy doing this. And like I said, these 2 trophies are called Strutting My Stuff. And I thought that day, these 2 times I won this trophy, I think I should have got the one in 2020, but Brian Fuller beat me on that one. But really, it's a very good program, and I like doing it and matching my little outfits and just, you know, doing what I got to do. You know, I'm not a woman, but this year I dressed up as a man and had a suit on with some nice shoes that God just worked it out. Purple tie, purple shoes. I don't know if y'all seen them, but I wanted to bring the trophies tonight to let y'all see when you get out and participate in this event that what you can get. And I probably won't do it next year. I'm just going to let the mayor win or Mr. Miller win. Wear my flip-flops next year and see what they can bring to the table. You know. So I just wanted to, Ms. Hibbs, you know, last time I was up here, I said I didn't get the chance to bring, because I had that blanket, I didn't get a chance to bring these trophies. But I thank you on behalf of the city, because when we do this, it's all about us. It ain't about Ivory Van. It's all about us. As a city, I figure all of us up here, we won this. So, you know, I'm very proud to have them on my fireplace.
We appreciate you.
You know, I definitely am. And this lady, she's probably watching now. Her name is Miss Buffington. She always comes to every city council meeting, but she's not here tonight. And she always brings us treats. And this treat here, what she brought us tonight, was some candy for Halloween. And also she brought us some bubbles. And I haven't done bubbles since I was a kid. So I know Miss Newton is watching. You have yours, Jamie? So we go. Whoops, I'm making a mess up here. Can't get my thing out. I should have had it ready. Well, you got yours. I'll let you do it.
That was quick. That was a little one. There.
All right.
There you go.
I can't get mine going for some reason.
Thank
My
you,
hand's
Miss
too big or
Buffington,
something. We want
for
to thank
thinking
Miss.
of us.
We want to thank Ms. Buffington for all she does for us up here on the council and bringing us little treats and everything. And we thought we'd recognize you also tonight for, you know, because people don't have to be nice to you, really. People do not have to be nice. So when people are nice to me or anybody else, I believe in recognizing them. And I'd like to thank Ms. Buffington. And again, Ms. Hibbs, thank you and your whole entire organization, staff and all, and Mr. Tucker, for doing all what y'all do for WISH. And I'm gonna take these beautiful trophies back home and put them back on my fireplace. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll now call to order the special call meeting for the Muskogee City Council for October 18, 2021. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan. Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Item number 1.
Discuss and take action to create an official committee to commemorate the City of Muskogee's 150th anniversary in 2022, appointing Mayor Marlon J. Coleman and Councilor Jamie Stout as co-chairs, as well as appointing other members of council as honorary committee members, Juanita Mullins and Margaret Taylor as committee members, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Stout will likely chime in on this item as well. But we want to say to the members of the council, we have a grand opportunity before us. Muskogee will celebrate 150 years in 2022. And Councilor Stout and I have been working together to make certain that we don't go overlooked as a community. We are probably at one of the better points in our history in terms of moving our city forward. And we want to be certain that we celebrate every milestone that comes along with that, which includes celebrating Muskogee's own birthday. And so, as it appears before you all on tonight, we want to formalize the committee with Councilor Stout, myself, and co-chairs, as well as the council being honorary members of the council of the committee. That way, as Councilor Stout and I try to plan, we report directly to council those things that we'd like to see done, and also encumber your input to be certain that we leave no stone unturned. According to Ms. Mullins, who has been working with us, January 1st is the actual day, but we want to celebrate the 150th across the entire year with several events, so that we are certain that we give ourselves as a community the proper recognition that we deserve. I think a lot of times we let the negative Nancy's or those keyboard ninjas hijack the narrative on Muskogee. And we want to be certain that we put our best foot forward, that we celebrate Muskogee the way it deserves to be celebrated. For every person that will say something negative, there are 1,000 things that we're doing correctly, as highlighted in the previous agendas on tonight. So Ms. Mullins and Ms. Margaret Taylor will be also added to that committee. We are asking for council to approve that on tonight so that we can plan and bring you reports on those items and those activities that we'd like to have to give Muskogee its appropriate celebration. Councilor Stout?
Yes, and then we're looking forward to bringing in the other organizations within the community to help with the planning process and planning their own events, and everybody coming together and just celebrating Muskogee's 150th year.
And council, that would be my recommendation, but we have opportunity now to take your input. or a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 1. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of resolution number 2876, giving notice to the Secretary of the Muskogee County Election Board and calling a city general election for Tuesday, February the 8th, 2022, and a runoff election in the event respective candidates for the offices of mayor and council members do not receive a majority vote, with said runoff election to be held on Tuesday, April the 5th, 2022, establishing filing, withdrawal, and contest period, closing the 45th and 40th voting precincts, and establishing all the same pursuant to the charter of the City of Muskogee and the revised state election laws, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of the council, it's your favorite time of year again. It is election time, and so this is our required resolution to give to the county election board calling for the election. The date will be February 8th, 2022, with a runoff of April 5th, 2022. We do have the filing period coming up next month, and that will be a 3-day filing period, Monday, November 8th, 2021, through November 10th, 2021. And so we do have the withdrawal option for those candidates, which will be set by this resolution, which will be that Friday, the 12th. And then the contest of candidacy will be Monday, November 15th. And so, as you all probably remember, we did a charter revision back in 2013, and then since then the election laws have changed about 5 different times. And so, while our charter says that our elections will be held in January, that conflicts with what is permitted under state law. And so we hold our elections in February, which is keeping in the spirit of the charter and making it the next month available for those elections. And so that's why we have our elections in February. Some years you get to take your sweetie to vote on vote on Valentine's Day, but not this year. It'll be the week before. And so what we're asking for is to approve Resolution 2876 with the following revisions, correcting the contest of candidacy deadline to Monday, November 15th, 2021 to account for Veterans Day, which is the 11th. Correcting the filing date of the resolution to be October 28th, 2021, and incorporating the revised list of election officials. And so the election officials were supplemented in what I distributed today. And those may likely change before the election, but we would not need to revise the resolution based upon that because those are established by the county election board. So with that, I would recommend approving the proposed motion. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Tucker on tonight?
Mr. Tucker, what is precinct 40 and 45 and why are we closing them?
There are no residents who live in that area.
Mm-hmm. Where are they located?
I don't know that I have the map with me. We get that information from the county election board.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get that to you later. I don't have it in this resolution.
You said there's no residents that live in those areas?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've had to close those for the last 5 years. Yeah. So.
Other questions for Mr. Tucker?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I always was curious about this. I know when I ran for city council back in 2014, I went over, this so happened. So it would be no dispute. I went and had a background check, had a credit check, and I'm just curious, you know, say for example, that you have somebody sign up for council, doing a run for council. You don't know nothing about them. Say for instance, they're a sex offender or they got felonies or whatever. Is this something that I'm missing here?
You can't be a felon and hold public office, but at the same time, someone has to file a contest of your candidacy.
But I wonder if you don't know that they are.
The rules of the election board and what has been determined under state law is if no one files a candidacy, files a challenge to your candidacy, then you can be elected as a felon. So it's kind of a self-policing provision. And that question has come up through our Oklahoma Municipal League. Pretty much every election, somebody says, well, what happens if, you know, the contest of candidacy period expires, but you've got someone who's a felon? Well, if nobody brings it up, they can still be elected.
Okay. Wow. I was just curious, Roy.
No, good, yeah, good question.
Just curious.
But with regard to what our candidates are, those are set out in charter. You have to live in a ward unless you're the mayor, and you've got to be a resident 6 months before, so.
Oh, we definitely
Pretty
know you
limited.
gotta live in the ward.
Yes.
Oh, I know you gotta live in the ward.
I know you do.
But you can move, right?
No,
You can't move out your ward?
no.
Say no more.
No, in fact, that is one of the provisions within the charter. If you leave your ward, then you vacate. That is one of the options for vacating your spot. But of course, that has to be done by the council. So it's not automatic. There's got to be a hearing and all those kind of things.
Any other questions for Mr. Tucker? I think Ms. Stout made a motion.
Yes. Second?
We have a motion and a second by Councilor McGee. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. That was the last item for tonight. We are adjourned.